Hi, Chris here, and just wanted to talk about some easy projects you can do with your laser. And one of the easiest things I found to use is leather, or actually, in my case, leatherette. Although what I'm talking about can apply to leather as well. But I found this leatherette, and I like it because it also has a foil underneath. So when you engrave the top layer, you're going to get this gold color. So here's my testing, and you get this gold color. Now, why do I like this? I like doing some keychains, and I'd gotten some stuff off of Amazon pre-made, but it doesn't have the foil, and I had to do a jig in order to do this. So I thought, why not do it myself? So I used some existing keychains I found and patterned them and made a design. So I have this one here that I did. This is just the raw thing without engrave. But you know what's great about it is you can do an engrave and then cut it out, so you don't need a jig or anything. So I did this one here, and not only can you do keychains, you can also do things like bag tags for luggage or golf. So I did that. Um, and you can do different shapes as well. And I'll show that in Lightburn. I have some different things I did, including like a dog tag for a dog, pet tags. So you could do things like that. There's all sorts of possibilities. It's pretty simple. And the thing about leatherette, especially, is the cost is a lot cheaper. So you can get a 12 by 24-inch sheet for about $4 to $6, depending on where you get it. I'll have a link down to a place, Lone Star Adhesive. They have good prices and very different things. You can get it with adhesive or not. Um, so you can get an adhesive back, especially if you want to make hat patches. So that's fairly simple to do too. You can do the engrave and the cut, and then you can use a heat press and attach it to a hat. So very simple there. But for keychains, I'm going to talk primarily about that. And it's pretty simple. You know, leather itself costs probably about 40 $50 for the same amount. And then you have to deal with storing the leather, and you would probably want to do more like actual uh, stitching and get the stitching there on it to hold it. Besides, for leatherette, I glued it, and I used different glues. I tried different glues. We just tried different glues for gluing it. This does not actually have leatherette on it has like a foam or like felt or something. So you don't necessarily need to use like leather type glue. You can try some other glues, CA glue or white glue or wood glue, things like that, and it should hold. The nice thing about these is they're with the leatherette, it's waterproof, it's very durable. It's not leather, like I said, but you can do leather as well. So I'll show that in a second. Lightburn and how all the different things I have. So check that out. Here we are in Lightburn, and this is my file that I have some templates of keychains and other things. And let's just go through it a little bit here. We'll start here. These are keychains that are templated here, like a what do you call a raindrop or a teardrop or something like that. Uh, and I actually got this I found some patterns online and traced it using Lightburn's image trace. So these are a couple of styles that I got with the stitch holes I made for if you're going to use stitch holes. But getting back to here, this is the two different things I did here. And with the teardrop, or not even the teardrop, let's just talk about this. It's called bag tag. These are rectangles that are rounded. The edges, I did one and then put a rectangle between, and then, let me say that again. I did one, got it, rounded the edges, got it, I liked it, and copied it and flipped it, and then basically used another rectangle to connect the two, and then using the Boolean weld tool, I welded those. So looking at the dog tags, this one's pretty easy. You get the dog tag bone shape. Could be, or you could make it other shapes if you want. And then basically I duplicated that and flipped it here and used a rectangle to connect the two. So when it comes to a couple of tips when doing these engraves and getting them positioned right, this is how I did it. I mean, there's other ways to position your engraves design so it's the same on either side. I just did the first one, and then I would duplicate that actual design, the engrave, this golf one, for example, and put that on a different layer or a different, cut layer. Then I would hide one of them and rotate them, and then connect them, and then you group it all, basically, if that makes sense. And then they end up in the same place. So it's pretty simple. And I also have, here's just the templates that show that. These are just some blank templates, so you can it's easy to put stuff in there. And then I've also done some luggage tags types style. This is just a portrait, and this is the landscape style. And then the part that connects them is the part that the ring goes around, or is around, if that makes sense. So that's the area where the ring would be, where in the middle, goes directly in the middle. And one of the things I'd make sure that these both line up, are exactly the same shape, so they'll glue perfectly. So some tips for light burn here. If I pull up the fill, first of all, is to use, at least in this case for the foil leatherette that I use, you want to have 0.1 line interval. And also make sure that when it engraves, I don't do like, because sometimes if you have the settings, it will do all this. If this is what you're gonna do, it's gonna do all the engrave. The laser is gonna go all the way across, and that might be saving time, but I don't know if that would get a lot of char everywhere. I usually just do each individual thing, which may not be the best, but you can try different things and see what works best for you. The other thing I do for this particular leatherette is I add, as I was read, about 3 millimeters of height beyond my normal height for engrave, and that seems to work pretty good. I have pretty good results. I have a 20-watt laser, so my settings are for my 20-watt laser. It's a Jimitsu L8, and that's what I use, and that seems to work well for this, and it's easy to work with. Doesn't take a lot of power to engrave. As you can see, it's set over here 22% for the power, so not a lot of power. 228 speed, that's per second, 228 per second. So pretty quick, and it does really well. I cut at 70. I don't know, you can try some different settings. I don't seem to have a lot of char on the edges. I use LA Awesome to clean it all off, to any of the char, so that seems to work well. So, your mileage might vary in your settings, but you can try these and see what happens, and see what will work. Thanks for watching this video.